Hello. Um,
Hey everyone, sorry for the delayed start. Hi from Halifax. Nice, Marlene. I hope you've been to Keji Seaside before, because if not, it's a great kind of best kept secret. It's a little sunny, but I'm going to try. Sorry for the delay. It looks like the hello David and Wendy. Hey Vicky. Hey everybody. Patrick, good to see you again. I did a test of this, and the reception looked okay today. It looks a little low. I hope it's all right. There's not really a lot I can do about it right now, but we'll hope for the best. Heygo's closing April 11th? Oh, I didn't hear about that. That's unfortunate. Well, maybe I'll jump streams to, I don't know. I don't know where to go. I enjoy doing this. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's a real bummer. All right, well that'll put a bit of a sad damper on the trip, but so here we are at the Kejimkujik Seaside Adjunct. In southwest Nova Scotia, around a place called Port Jolly. Here, I'll show you. There's a map. Let's see. So you see the big green spot in the middle. That's Kejimkujik. That is a national park. And then down at the bottom of that image, you see there's a tiny little green speck. That's the Kejimkujik Seaside. Oh, thank you, Marlene. That's the Kejimkujik Seaside Adjunct. Now, that is, I'm not exactly sure why it's part of the administration of Keji. I think it's some sort of bureaucratic thing, but it is pretty incredible. So we're going to take a little walk today. There's a couple of spots. There's a longer trail that I opted not to take, and I will post an image as to why, keeping in mind that I am. Oops, I didn't upload it. Never mind. Basically, I took another trail and I started walking it, and it's a longer trail. We wouldn't have been able to do the whole thing. And then there's a big red sign that says "Caution, Bear in Area." Um, and honestly, I'm by myself. I didn't think to bring any bear spray today, and I just, as much as I would love to be able to show you all a bear, I do not get paid enough to get mauled by a bear for a Heygo tour. But without further ado, maybe I will turn this camera around and we will have a look and see exactly where we are. I'll post another image before I do and show you. So that's kind of a close-up of the park. We are off to the side of that, the little green trail, the shorter trail. So the Port Jolly Trail goes all the way around, and you can see the Little Hope Lighthouse and all this. We're taking a little trip, little side trip. I'm going to take us to the Piping Plover Beach or close to it, and we're not allowed on the Piping Plover Beach. And then we'll just take a seaside walk. So with that, I'm going to turn around because, I mean, this is beautiful. Look at this. But now, look at that. So that's where we are. Southwest Nova Scotia is, even for a lot of people who live in this province, kind of an unexplored gem. You know, when you talk about the south shore of Nova Scotia, they think as far as Lunenburg, Bridgewater, which is about an hour out of town. But this is about 45 minutes um, further southwest from me, and I'm an hour and a half out of town, and it is just stunning. You know, right now this water is so cold, but late summer, early autumn, early fall, it gets ridiculously warm. This is almost a little tropical zone. You can see. I'll zoom in here. The color of that water, it's even like Caribbean looking, you know? So we are right by Port Joli. We are still in Queens County. We're about 2 hours southwest of Nova Scotia. Gee, when you say out of town, I mean Halifax. Halifax is town. It's the biggest city in Nova Scotia and also the Maritimes. It's kind of the hub, you know. Um, so where we're going to walk today is we're going to walk along these rocks, and we're going to keep going. Talk a little bit about the history of this place and with a large caveat that I am not a historian. So I've learned what I can learn, and I'll do my best to be as informative as possible. But, you know, it is what it is. So I'm mostly here to show you guys this. The weather today is just at or below the freezing point. Here's a big spin around. This is where we are. We came from this way. I walked so far about 45 minutes to get us to here, to the beach, and then we'll walk along it. Morning, David. So one of the, whoa, why did it get all blurry? I think it focused on my finger. Yeah, see there? Oh, there we go. Weird. This new phone is pretty awesome, but it does some things I don't get. A little tiny river flowing out to the ocean there. We're gonna jump across this, probably get a soaker. No, did it like a true explorer. All right, so we're gonna go this way. So the history, okay, I'm gonna say all of this with a grain of salt. You know how historians are very into physical evidence, physical proof. So they say that there's evidence of human activity here between 5,000 and 2,500 years ago in this part of the province. But it's very probable, given that we know that there was people in other parts of the province as far back as 10,000 years ago, that people were coming here long before they found like one basically spear tip. And so they kind of go with that to say, well, we know for sure before then. This is a traditional hunting and fishing ground. It's now you don't see them anymore because the mainland moose has basically been hunted out, but this used to be a moose hunting ground. There's some beautiful, big, scrubby plains where animals would come and feed. And, you know, it's a rough and rugged place, so they'd be kind of able, the larger animals would be able to come here unbothered. Something is intruding onto the screen. Oh, is it? No, hold on, let me push it out. This phone, how's that? Is that better? This phone is much smaller than the last one, so I actually catch the gimbal when if I don't have it pushed quite far out. Yeah, gimbal. You know, it's early still. So here's another beautiful view. We'll be going that way. If you look and see, let's zoom in here to get into like the pre-human history. All these rocks that are like big and not actually attached to, whoa, can't do that. Oops. Yeah, that are like big and not actually attached to anything. They're clearly not like just carved out by rain and wind and the like. Those are what's known as glacial erratics. And glacial erratics, I mean, it kind of is what the name implies. They were brought here by glaciers and then deposited as they melted. So those are like the pebbles that get stuck in the snow. I'm going to show you something really interesting too. Like you can see where we are on this path. We're pretty far from the ocean. And yet, here's this little buddy in the middle of the path. All right, learning. So that's a crab, clearly not doing so well. And likely, little bud was taken from the water, picked up by one of the many hunting seabirds around here, and for whatever reason was dropped. Could have been a breeze came up, and then they just left it. I'm not sure why. Or maybe it like, you know, pinched it in the face, and it decided, forget you, bud, I'm dropping you. So we'll go down this. I'm going to keep showing you kind of where we're walking, just in case you wonder why everything's so shaky. So we're doing, you know, this is a relatively easy trail, but it is still a lot of ups and downs. Yeah, our trail today, we probably won't even walk the full thing. It's about 3 kilometers. The Port Joli Trail that we're not taking today is, I believe, an 8-kilometer round trip. It's a lot more complex, but again, that's where the bear in the area sign was. And again, don't make enough for bears. Not today. I'm not one of those people who thinks they could fight a bear, because I could not. Well, I could fight a bear, but I would lose to that bear. Anyway, so yeah, they know people have been here for at least 5,000 to 2,500 years. Likely that number is larger. This place is a known and established hunting ground. I was very lucky for a little while when I was doing my sound recording job. We got to come here one day and talk with a Mi'kmaq knowledge keeper, and she told us a lot about the history. And one of it is just that this has been an important place for a long time. Now we can look down. What was that plaque? That plaque is about harbor seals. Yeah, we can learn about harbor seals. This is the wrong time of year for them. How's that? Does that make sense? Everything's pretty washed out. So the harbor seals in the fall, especially late summer, early fall. What's the postcards of these things? Yeah, remind me. I'm bad for stopping for photographs. So please stop me, and I will give you time. But the seals come in late summer, early autumn. The rocks keep them safe. There's tons of fish around here, so they'll come and just hang out on the rocks and do what animals do during mating season. And it's loud, and they're having a ball. That's when this water is at its warmest and nearly swimmable. Yeah, you can see just how beautiful it is out there. This is also, I was hoping that we could see, but I don't think we can. It's lobster season right now, so maybe way out on the horizon. My eyes see it off in the distance, but nah. Oh, there it is, a little bit. See that little tiny speck on the horizon? That is likely a lobster boat chugging along to wherever its traps are. Right now, yeah, Southwest Nova's lobster season. And so you'll see them around here far offshore. And actually, interestingly, if we zoom back out and we tip down, you see on those rocks, there's all this seaweed. November to May is lobster season. That's right. So all that seaweed is what's known as rockweed. There's also Irish moss that grows around here. And sometimes you get really lucky. This is kind of the wrong time of year. But people actually go around and traditionally harvest this with little dories and seaweed rakes, and you'll see them. And they turn that into all sorts of things. But mostly they harvest it for carrageenan, which is a thickener, and it goes in everything from you get sea otters. No, we have river otters here. We don't actually have sea otters in Nova Scotia. In this area, there's definitely some. Probably be hard to see. Lobster Caesar salad. Yeah. I don't actually eat lobster. I don't like it very much. But I know I'm in the minority here. But anyway, yeah. So they harvest the seaweed, and that goes to be thickeners from everything from like toothpaste to chocolate milk, which cool, right on. Makes me wonder about chocolate milk a bit, but apparently too the rockweed is good for your teeth as well. So it's kind of interesting that they put it into seaweed. So here's some more glacial erratics. These are so cool looking, and these acting like little gates. I was here a month ago, and all of this was snow that was, at least my my knees. So it's pretty amazing. So we'll see. You know what? Why don't we pick along the rocks for a minute. I'll get ticks for us. Daddy's little lobsters. Oh yeah, yeah. I lived in Mill Cove, which is about 45 minutes out of Halifax, and I was helping some older people get one of their fishing boats into the water, and they were talking about their experiences with lobster. And like, I remember a verbatim quote was, one of them said, "Oh, when I was a kid, we were so poor. One time we had to eat lobster for 3 weeks every lunch, and the kids would feel bad and trade me their bologna sandwiches because nobody wanted to eat the lobster." So we'll go to the point here. It's a little windy. At some point, my headphones will die, and then I'll have to charge them, and then we'll get all sorts of wind hits, but they charge fast, and then I'll come back. But yeah, it's kind of interesting how, tastes change or whatever. I mean, you look at now, what I'm hoping, there's something here. There's a small animal, not like the crab we saw there, but they're called European green crabs, and they're like crazy invasive. Actually, here there was a big problem where they were cutting down what's known as eelgrass, which is like a sea plant, and the little European green crabs act like tiny little lumberjacks and just decimate eelgrass populations, which is a really important kind of cornerstone plant. So they've started trying to make a fishery out of it. They're working with a few different restaurants and other places to look at this, to make a fishery out of it. Because there's one thing we know, it's if you want something to be gone, just make it useful to humans, and we will overfish it or overfarm it or overhunt it or whatever. So they're working on finding ways to use these green crabs, which are incredibly invasive, and hopefully in time we do something with it. So here we are standing on a rock way over this way. That white sand strip over there is a very special protected beach. It's one of the last kind of refuges where nobody can go, where the piping plover lives. And so that is a piping plover there. It is just adorable. And you can see them, you can get video of them. They kind of just like wander on the beach in little groups, and they go close to the water's edge, and then the water comes in and they run away, and then go close to the water's edge and then run away, and it is just adorable. But yeah, so there's a lot of protected landscape for them. And so that's that way. We're going to take a walk a little further and see what else we can see. So to get back into the history of this place, I think the first, there's some little waves going in. I'm just also looking because later today, I would like to go surfing. I'll go surfing closer to my house. I'm just trying to see if there's anything worth surfing. So far, not quite, but I think later today we'll have some surf. So this is where we came from, back this way. Yeah, so in the human history of this place, after the glacial erratics, and then after native people who lived here started coming and using it as hunting grounds, they don't think that people really lived around here. They think it was more a hunting ground, and that more people lived around the town of Liverpool and came on trips. I think it's pretty rugged, it's pretty intense, and it is darn cold and windy sometimes. So, you do your little week-long hunting trip, you come back with a moose and a bunch of fish, and you're good to go. You have a much more sheltered place to hang out. So after that, we have in 1603, let me check my paper, I believe it's 1603. I made notes, everyone, because I'm kind of a giant nerd. 1604, I was wrong. Samuel de Champlain, the French explorer and amongst other things, came and visited here. They didn't wind up staying here. They checked out, this is, tell you the story about Port Mattoon Harbor, but they came here and checked it out. And they were more inclined to stay around like Cape Sable Island, which is down the southwest direction, and then back towards Liverpool. But they came, checked it out. They described it as like what it is, scrubby kind of landscape. You see a lot of trees and stuff here, but like if you look here, this kind of landscape is all over it. Am I walking towards Liverpool or away? That's a darn good question. I mean, I guess I am walking towards Liverpool in a way. It's like to walk to Liverpool would take me several days. And I'm kind of going down a point right now. Like this whole thing, if you look at the map I uploaded, it's kind of a jutting point. So I'd basically walk to the tip and just walk back to go to Liverpool. So the short answer is neither. The longer answer is I am heading in the southeast, or the easterly direction right now. We're going to keep going. I'm kind of rock hopping here, so pardon me if it's a little slow. And yeah, so after Champlain came, they didn't think much of this land. They didn't do really anything with it. The Acadians didn't really settle here. It wasn't really, and like, so, Mi'kmaq people would continue hunting here. It was still in use, but hadn't really been settled by many people. And it wasn't until the 18th century, thanks, Carrie, with the Black Loyalists. And the Black Loyalists were the first ones who settled here. That is a huge, interesting history that I just am not knowledgeable enough to really speak to. The long and the short of it is the Black Loyalists were American Black people who had been enslaved and basically made a deal to fight for the English in exchange for their freedom. And then, as is wont to happen in the times, completely got shafted on that deal. But some wound up getting little land grants in obviously, just like they did with Native people and everything else. The English, gave away the hardest to farm, the scrubbiest, scrappiest land. And so the first people to settle here in settlements and small farms and stuff were Black Loyalists. And that was the 18th century, late 1700s. And that kind of stayed the way it was until the mid 1800s, the 19th century, when people started using this land, as the whole province filled up, people started using this land for sheep farming. So all of this became sheep pasture land. And there's actually somewhere along here, I think it's the other way. So we're not going to get to it today, again, because I don't want to get attacked by a bear, where there's old settlements, like old stone walls that have been, time and weather have destroyed them, but they are still there. There's still evidence. Let's see. Oh, here's a little. So what we're looking at here. Oh, it's black bears. They're not the black bears here are definitely bears. You don't want to try to hang out with one, but they're a lot more timid. They're a lot less aggressive. And so long as you don't get in between a mother and their cub, they're pretty chill, Last time I was here for work, we were shooting. We came up over a cliff, not a cliff, but a little rise, and actually saw a mother bear and two cubs just sitting, chilling, eating mussels off the rocks and picking berries and stuff. And in the same field of view, not far from them, was a deer. And they were completely unbothered with the deer. They couldn't care less because they were busy chowing down on seafood and fruit. So they're pretty non-aggressive, both to other animals and to humans, except for the reason I worry is right now it's wake up time. And at wake up time, everybody's been hibernating, and now they're hungry. They're a little bit easily spooked because they're not fully aware of their surroundings, and they're hungry, right? So that's just a thing to be aware of. My incessant jabbering Definitely helps because if they can hear you, it's why you wear bear bells and stuff. The more they can hear you, the more they're inclined just to go the other way. And so here, what we're looking at, this is a rose bush. We have all over here these like scrubby seaside roses, and they're, much like the roses you're used to in flower shops, only not quite so perfumey. They have, where are they? Well, here's a couple that have made it through the winter. We get that there. Oh, interesting. All right, no bells. Won't wear a bell. So that there is a rose hip. That's high in vitamin C. They make a delicious tea. You can make nice jams. And if you have ever been to the, that's fair. If you've ever been to the south shore of Nova Scotia, you have seen loads of these. They grow like weeds here. I have a little wild blueberry patch, and I spend half of my time just picking the beautiful rose bushes out from between them so that they get a chance to pause for postcard. Yeah, do you want me to pause of berries? Yeah. Oh, let me see. Here's one. Do you want me to tip? See if we can. How's that? Okay, wicked. My headphones are about to die here, so I'm going to plug them in and charge them. It's going to get real windy for a second, for a couple of minutes, so you might want to drop the volume on your computers for a second. Luckily, the headphones charge fast, but it is something I have to do. I was going to use the Heygo proceeds to buy new headphones, but it sounds like I won't be doing that. Okay, so sound's about to get a little windy. I am apologizing in advance.
Hey, so it's probably pretty windy. I'll do my best to get these back on quick, but it's a windy day here, so there's not a lot we can do. April 11th, it closes town hall with John. Okay. Well, I think I'll still be walking trails here. I might be done with the feed, but I'm more than an hour away from my car. But maybe I'll stop somewhere. I brought a couple of oranges for lunch and I got some water. So maybe I'll stop and watch the town hall if I can. Oh, it's kind of great that we're going into like a slightly sheltered place. Yes, you can see. Yeah, it really is. This is one of the, again, like Nova Scotia. Oh, thank you, Vicky. Nova Scotia's southwest shore, like Southwest Nova, even to Nova Scotians, like, is just, and I'm reluctant to talk about how incredible it is because I kind of love how few people come here. Yeah, well, it's only 2 hours away. It's really close. There's places to stay. It's beautiful. It's in the late summer, early fall. These beaches are super swimmable, but we just don't take advantage of them the way we should. Oh, here's let's see. I'll show you a couple things. One is information about piping plovers. You can see how washed out it is. Hard to tell, but so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read it to you. So we're going to look at the beach. So this says, the sandy beach before you hides a precious and rare treasure. During the spring and summer, piping plovers live and nest at the Kejimkujik Seaside. Early in the spring, piping plovers migrate from as far away as the Caribbean and confront many dangers to nest on this beach. In midsummer, they head south for the winter. Piping plovers are an endangered species. Piping plover nests are discrete depressions in the ground. When predators, pets, or humans get too close to the nets, adult piping plovers will pretend to have a broken wing, hoping to entice these threats away from the nest. So that's how cool they are. There's plovers and there's sandpipers, and it's hard sometimes to tell the difference between a sandpiper and a plover. Both are just ridiculous. horrible. And so, after years of dwindling populations at the Kejimkujik Seaside and throughout the Maritimes, groups like Parks Canada are stepping up their efforts to ensure that the piping plover does not disappear. Protection and education are only part of the solution. What would you like to do to help the piping plover? It asks. So, I mean, a lot of what we can do, howdy, Paul, is just not go where they are, give them their space. I think something really interesting that is an initiative by Parks Canada is this. Hey, Virginia. So it's this citizen scientist stuff. They're basically, I mean, I don't know if it's any good, but it's well, you can read it. It's a University of Windsor kind of initiative to monitor coastlines. And so it's a lot about taking photos. See, there's this cradle, and so what it asks people to do is put the phone in the cradle. Can't really get close enough with the gimbal, I'm afraid. Sorry, everyone. But you put your stuff in there, and then it's got a fixed location, right? Like, or a fixed angle. And then you take the pictures, and it can see how this shoreline is changing over time. I'm going to try putting my headphones back in and see if we can beat this wind a little bit. Should be charged up now. Boom. There's one. There. All right. Hopefully that's a little less windy. How is it? Hopefully it's good. Okay. So as well as that, so there's these great initiatives about the piping plovers. They were for a little while. We were talking about those green crabs. Oh yeah, and here's an image. That's the green crab. They are nasty little guys. They're identifiable because they have this like. That's actually a bad picture. I should have uploaded one where you can see the front of it more. But they have these little spiky, look almost like crowns of thorns on the front of them. Um, and they just come and decimate everything. So people are trying to use them. And what was something the park was doing? It was an ecotourism initiative. I don't know if they're still doing it, but you could go out in boats. There's a salt marsh just on the other side here that we won't be able to get to. Um, but you could actually go out with Parks Canada employees and harvest these nets, and they're traps, basically like small crab traps or lobster traps. And yeah, you could help clean the area. And one of the most amazing things is they started this initiative in I believe it was 2011 or 2010, and because there was no eelgrass left, like this super important building block where so many animals lived and took shelter had been decimated by these little lumberjack crabs that were just clearing everything. And like I think it was 8 years later, you see aerial photographs of the area, and it's completely grown back. And they're finding like lobster fishermen are using them as bait to great success. They're finding a way to use the crab shells as bioplastic polymers, which is so far above my pay grade as far as what that means. But as far as I can tell, they're making, non-petroleum based plastics out of them. So they break down easier and they're healthier for the planet. And then they are talking to restaurants about using them as food. I have not eaten one yet, but I've seen a couple little YouTube videos of stuff for people who do some foraging around here. And problem is they're small, so you don't get a lot of meat out of them. But apparently they're pretty tasty if you're into crab. So if we can find a way to, I imagine pulping them and making kind of a real fake imitation crab might be the way to go. So look at this, like, again, Nova Scotia, North Atlantic, white sand beach, like emerald water, just ridiculous. Let's go right down to the water's edge, shall we? I'll show you where I'm standing now. I'll tip it down. So we're standing on this like beautiful craggy rock. It really is gorgeous. It really is magical. So we're going to jump down
and just go to the water's edge there. So in the fall, all of these far rocks are just covered in shorebirds and seals, and the din is unbelievable. They're all over this part of the province. I go to bed in the fall hearing them cry to one another. The first year that I lived at my house, I didn't know what they were, and so I just kind of assumed the woods were haunted. And I was like, okay, well, that's terrifying forever. But turns out it's a thing. It's, geez Louise, looking at it through a lens here where you don't feel the fact that it's like -1 degree Celsius. It, it looks like you could swim in it right now, doesn't it? So yeah, oftentimes, look at those little waves breaking. I'm going to try to get low to the ground. This is one of my favorite things to do when I'm out at the beach, is just try to get low footage. Yeah. In the winter, you'll see in times, you'll see people harvesting seaweed here down, and again, you'll see bears eating shells. Ugh. So what's the question? I pause. Good. Surfing a lot. It's a sound I stop to listen to all the time, and I never think about how cathartic it can be for other people. I'm really glad you asked me to stop for that. Yeah, there's something pretty special about the ocean. One of my favorite silly little factoids about, well, any ocean is that oh, look at that. See the sun shining off it. Um, one of the things that they're trying to do with, we love our lithium batteries right now, is find new sources of it because they're running out of sources on land. And they found that in the ocean there's naturally dissolved lithium salts, because that's all lithium is a salt. And the lithium that's in batteries is the exact same lithium that's in mood stabilizers and antidepressants. So anytime you go into the water, when I go surfing, if you go for a swim in the ocean, even just being around it, getting the ocean spray, you're getting this like tiny microdose of a mood stabilizing chemical, and it's part of the reason that the time spent by the ocean can be so cathartic and calming, because there's actually like a scientific biological reason for that, as well as it just being just ridiculously meditative. So I love that. I love that little fact. So we're going to do a big spin around. I'm going to turn my back on the ocean and hope my feet don't get soaked. But again, like, you can come here 2 hours from Halifax, you know, 2 hours from Halifax. Our only footsteps on the beach are my own. Morning, Letitia. Morning, Shava. And, pretty hard to find this level of solitude. It just takes a little bit of extra driving. So we'll go and then just all the way back around. All right, so we're gonna go climb the rocks to see what's up over the ridge. Check my little piece of paper. See what else. If anybody's got any questions, please feel free to ask. I may or may not be able to answer them. We talked about the green crabs, the ecosystem fishery. We talked about the lobster. Oh, the Little Hope Island lighthouse. Um, we will not see. We cannot see Little Hope Island here, but there was kind of at the mouth of the St. Catharines River, which is the river that this is on, was an island called Little Hope Island. And there was a lighthouse there, and I believe it was built in 1857 in response to some boats definitely went down. Every now and then on the beach here, some very old pottery would wash up from a shipwreck. And so they built the Little Hope Island lighthouse, and it stood. It was occupied. It was operated. Oh yeah, more glacial erratics dropped here by, well, glaciers. So it was operated from 1867 to 1950 when it was abandoned, and then it stayed standing tall until 2004 when a huge storm called Hurricane Juan rolled through and did some pretty heavy structural damage to it, at which point it was still standing until that winter. We had another storm that I don't think got a name. Everybody around here just called it White Juan, which is funny because we could have just called it John. And it finally wrecked it. So now there's a lighted buoy that operates in its place now. So kind of a shame, but I don't know if you can see here on this rock, we have all these amazing lichens. These bright yellow colors look almost like someone spilled a can of paint. These are some of the most let's get up close. I can't get enough of lichen. Yeah, you can see how cold it is on this rock. That's salt water, and there's still ice, right? And it's a beautiful sunny day, so wouldn't recommend swimming yet. But yeah, these lichen here, just beautiful things. Combination. Thank you for the tip. Lichens are a combination of fungus and algae. It's a weird three-way symbiotic relationship. They've been trying to grow them in labs, and it's only about a decade ago that they realized that the reason they were having a hard time was because there was a third component that they weren't aware of yet, and that was the second algae. So here we go, on top of the world. Let's see if we can't get down a little bit. See this rolling in here. See if we can't follow another wave in. I could do this all day. And sometimes do, if I'm being very honest. Here's a cool one. You ready? Not big enough to surf, but it sure is pretty. So if we go, we're not going to, it's already been 45 minutes, holy crow. But just over this way is a salt marsh where they're doing the experimental crab fishing program. Very interesting. You can see over here the wreckage of something or other. That's not the stone house. The stone house is the other way. Wow, it's windy up here. I should come down off the rocks. Let's tricky to do this with one hand on a gimbal. I definitely am glad I'm wearing my hiking shoes. They're very grippy, so that's good. These rocks are a little dangerous. They're not so bad, but I mean, you got to be careful with ocean rocks because they take so much water, they get real slick, and every now and then you fall in or fall down. So let's go find a slightly sheltered from the wind spot and, you know, say our goodbyes. Is there anything else that we want? Oh yeah, here's like, look at this, like giant pile. This is what happens when storms hit around here. They churn up the bottom so much, and they wind up compressing all the seaweed together, and it just beaches it, right? It just comes in with the tide, and these are like very high tide marks, and then they just hang out for a while. If you're around this area and you like gardening, let me tell you, this here, you take it, put it on your garden in the winter, and then in the summer when you're ready to plant, you pull it off. It is incredible. There's like tons of all sorts of micronutrients and stuff that are just great for your garden. It's really great. I was worried because I thought it might be too salty, but haven't had a problem, so that's good. That's one of the things when they harvest the seaweed here that they use it for is fertilizer. Apparently it's just super powerful. Yeah. Okay. Well, where do we want to finish this tour? I don't know. Ah, it's just ridiculous. I'm completely blindsided by the beauty of this place. And I would love it if more people discovered Kejimkujik Seaside Adjunct, you know? The park itself, uh, Keji, is also beautiful. It's about an hour inland from here. And this little part of it is wonderful. Well, thanks, Emily. I'm glad you came along. Let me put this thing down and say my goodbyes. I might try to catch that town hall and find out what's going on. Although it sounds to me like they're just going to say, "Well, we had a good run, but that's it." Please post somewhere that we can connect with you after Heygo is done. Absolutely. Um, if you want to go on my Heygo page, I have, I believe, a link to my website. Thank you, Patty. That's bestkeptsecret.ca, and it's secret spelled Seacret. I'm opening a little glamping, eco-camping bed and breakfast this year. And so if you want to come and see all the beauty that's around here, there'll be a way for you to do that and stay. And, we can even meet. So we'll do this. Oh no. Hey, we're back. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Um, but anyway, thank you so much for coming, everyone. Thanks to everyone who tipped. Please stay in touch with me. We'll figure it out. I got so many more of these beautiful these walks and whatever. Oh, you guys are so kind. Thank you. Um, and yeah, we'll try to do a lot more of this in some way. We'll figure out another platform. I really enjoy this, and it's a great kind of like marketing too for my upcoming really scary and really exciting business. So hopefully I see you guys all there if you ever make it to this part of the country. That'd be really wonderful. And oh, thanks for posting that, Pamela, Patty, and Emily. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Yeah, thanks so much. And golly, everyone, we'll see you soon.